Um, no intro today. Look out for Fallout 4. Let's get straight into the video. See you there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Minecraft video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the part 2 of how to make your own faction server. Now, the first one got a whole lot of attention, so I didn't feel right if I took too long to make the second one. So here it is. So as you can see behind me, all I did was add a little layout path of where I'm going to have the shop areas. Now normally I would make this a lot bigger, but I'm not currently planning on actually using this spawn. So just know that if I was planning on using it, I would probably make this a little bit bigger for the spawn shop paths. But for right now, it's just this little area. And so basically what I did is I finished adding in these little boards here. So you've got like the rules for attacking, the rules for raiding. Then I also have like rules for like mobs, like if you wanted to have like a mob farm, rules for building a base, rules for personal shops, which I do highly recommend personal shops. It saves the owners and the workers and the admins on the server a whole lot of time. Then that way they don't have to build as many shops, because then people can start their own shops and trade with other players. But there definitely needs to be rules on those. Otherwise, people will just break into the shops if people try and make the shops look more like decorational. Then like the end shops, that's also gonna, like the end rules, that's also gonna have some rules about like the nether and stuff like that, building bases in the nether and stuff like that. Some rules of the enchants if you want to have regulations on the enchant levels and stuff like that. And then the farming rules. So over here, this is going to be the exit that I was planning on for like going out into the rest of the world, or like the war zone. And then over here, I was thinking like a little shop area. Like you walk down this path and you get to a bigger path. There's going to be shops along this row, along this row, along this row. And then there's going to be some shops over here in these little circles. And then in the center of these circles, what we're going to do is we're going to build some beacons, so that you not only get a speed boost when you're at spawn, but it also makes it makes it look a little bit better, because you can add colors to those beacons to differentiate the areas for each shop. Like if you wanted to make one shop be like mob drops, and then the other shop be like gear or kits, which I also do recommend kits, because kits are very, very important. If you don't have kits, I recommend getting them, because it makes the game a whole lot funner. Is funner a word? I don't know. So let's go ahead and get into filling in these little areas. I'm just going to fill them in with cobblestone for the moment. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So I just finished building most of the shop area over here. As you can see, I did not build all of the shops, but this way how I have it set up can hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shops on each side, meaning a total of 14 different transaction menus that you can have. Also, if you want a different type of vending machine, I recommend Mr. Crayfish's vending machine, where you can have it to 3 different outputs. And if I remember to, I'll link that down in the description below. But how I have this set up is you can make this path look a lot nicer, kind of like this spawn right over here. But I was just setting it up real quick because I don't have very much time right now. But you can make a path like this. I just did mix between cobblestone and gravel, and because this was a 4-block gap and I don't have any vending machines that take up a 4-block gap, I just put a faction board here. And this is also really cool because this allows other players to see what kind of factions that they need to compete against. And so these are the top 2 factions, or they could be like the rivaling factions or the fastest growing factions, or something like that. And you can measure the size of a faction based off of the size of its base, the amount of income that it has, or like the money that it has, like how many shops it has. It all really matters up to you. It all is kind of up to you. Over here you have the kits, and then over here you have mob drops, like I said before, and I think I did pretty good on this one. This one only has 3 different kits, which you can do as many as you like. I usually do about 4 kits, but this is great for having like a starter kit, like an intermediate kit, and then you could have like an overpowered or like godly kind of kit. Another thing that I recommend for throughout your world, other than around the spawn, is I recommend care packages. And why I say this is because I've done it once before. Care packages are kind of hard to manage, so I wouldn't recommend it if you're just looking for a server that you can kind of sit back and relax on. So I would not recommend that for those kind of people. But care packages are a really cool way to spice up the overworld. Otherwise, people will spend most of their time either at their base or at spawn, instead of actually exploring the world, other than when they initially spawn in and are trying to find a good location for their base. So what I mean by care packages is by having chests with beacons on them, or like you could have secret notes hidden throughout the world with the coordinates to chests, that you can put any kind of loot in. You could put in kits, you could put in special exclusive items like special swords and stuff like that. Really, it's up to you. But this is the shop system that I was talking about. And now I'm going to go ahead and give you some examples of rules. I didn't write any down on here, but I'm just going to talk about them for a little bit. So if I talked about this in the last episode, I'm sorry, but hopefully I didn't. So combat, again, I recommend a little zone around this area. That's why I kind of walled this in with cobblestone walls. It's because you don't really want people leaving through this area, or like walking around in the little areas that they're not supposed to be in. And then raiding, I recommend one of 2 ways. One way is with TNT, because I don't recommend TNT usage for raiding, even though it makes it a little bit more realistic to like computer and online raiding. But it does, right now I have TNT explodes off, but if you had that on for TNT raids, then you would be at risk of people blowing up the spawn, or just excessively griefing it using TNT or other means like that. And then the other way of doing raiding is through mining into the base. And mining into the base is probably the simplest way to do it, and you don't really have to manage it that much. So if you know where an area is, you can also make rules like you need multiple people to raid a base before you can mine into it. Because then if you stumble across a base and you happen to have like an iron pickaxe or a diamond pickaxe that can mine through every block in the game, well, except for stuff like bedrock, of course. But if you happen to have a really good pickaxe and you stumble across a base, you can't just break into it, steal the stuff, and run out without anybody knowing. Usually those have to be kind of scheduled. Oh, whoops, did not mean to break that. Mobs and like mob drops, mob spawners and stuff like that. Of course, in the Xbox One edition, there are no spawners. I don't know if there is on the new version of Minecraft for Xbox, but in the Xbox One edition, there are no spawners that you can actually place or anything like that. What I do know that you can find spawners throughout the map, and you can actually buy eggs to customize those spawners to whatever you want. And so that'd be pretty cool if you wanted to customize those to whatever you want. You could have like how to get the certain eggs that you want, or rules about like how you build a spawner, or like how, like that kind of stuff. Over here, building like base rules, there's a lot of rules that you could do for base rules. For example, you could do rules like your base can't be bigger than a 20 by 20 unless you like purchase this add-on in-game or something like that, like with in-game currency, or something like that, just so that people can't build an infinitely huge base straight from start if they get a bunch of building materials. And also you could have things like, what was I thinking of? Well, anyway, you can have rules on your base about like what materials can or can't be used, how big it is, and like how it's built. Like for example, if you didn't want any sky bases or underground bases, it has to be built on level or something like that. All right, next up is the trading kind of rules, and this is mainly for player shops, which I highly recommend that you have player shops, just so that when people, so you don't have to build like a shop for every single item. You can have other people making their own economy inside the game by being able to trade with one another. And that's pretty self-explanatory. That's mainly just like trades on like the minimum cost of an item, like what the quantity that you can sell an item in, the maximum cost of an item, basic stuff like that. Over here you have the end and like nether portals or realms kind of thing, and for that all I can really say is like for the rules, it'd be like no building bases in the end or in the nether, and no going into the end and killing the ender dragon or anything like that. And in the nether it's like free game, just like no basing in the nether. For enchants, if you wanted to make it so that somebody can't have like more than 2 or 3 enchants on a weapon, so that's not like super overpowered, like so that they can't have fire aspect to knockback. Hold on, is it knockback 2? Where is it? Where is it? Right there. Yeah, so fire, so they can't have like fire aspect 2, knockback 2, sharpness 5, unbreaking 3, and all that other kind of stuff. You can limit it to like 1 or 2 enchants per weapon to just make it so that they either have to carry more weapons with like their own distinct features on those weapons, or they just can't have like super overpowered gear unless it's like, and I'm saying like a lot, unless it's a special edition one that they get from something like a care package. Over here you have farming, and that mainly consists of if you wanted people to not have a specific type of farm, or if they were to have a farm, like what types of farms are allowed, what what the sale prices for farming stuff, and all that kind of stuff. Over there, oh yeah, that's PvP, and so that's mainly all the stuff that you really need for your spawn area, that I can think of at the moment. So you have kits, you have the shops and whatnot, and so you have all the rules. And so I'm going to go ahead and move on to showing you how to build your own kit, which I will show you right now. All right, welcome back. I'm going to show you how to make your own kits and stuff like that for your server, which I highly recommend. It makes it a whole lot easier. There's not really any reason why you wouldn't have kits and stuff like that. So I recommend building a little kit station. It doesn't really matter where. Sometimes you can build it above the spawn, you can build it underneath the spawn, as long as it's easily accessible by people with fly mode and stuff like that, which is going to be your admins and moderators. and other players can't get to it without breaking rules and stuff like that. And that's another thing that you could have over there on the rule boards. So I recommend having a little station like this. This is the kit that we're going to be working on, is this orange shulker box right here. So the first thing that I like to do is picking out the armor and weapons. And so for a starter kit, I personally, I've played a lot of servers and people like to use like dyed leather, maybe with one enchant, like one minor enchant, like Prot 1 or Unbreaking 1 or something like that. I personally like to do something a little bit more like OP factions where they start out with chain or iron and stuff like that. And then like the intermediate kit would be like highly advanced iron or like mixed iron and diamond. And then like the god kit or something like that would be full diamond. So I'm going to go ahead and use iron for this demonstration. And I think I'm going to color the helmet. So what I'm going to do is, because this is the starter kit, I'm just going to use orange dye. So just throw your leather cap on there with orange dye and you get your orange leather cap. I'm going to go ahead and place Unbreaking 3 on all of this. Just because I don't want anybody's gear to break if it's the starter kit. I don't want them to break from like overuse in PvP until they get better gear, because that's just no good, because then they die really fast and that's no fun. So actually, do I want to add something else on here? No, I think I'm just going to leave it like that, just like that. And then we can move on to the armor, the weapons and stuff like that. So for the weapons, I like to use iron tools. Sometimes I actually like to use like low enchanted diamond tools, which I think is what I'm going to use here. So I'm going to have that like that, and then the 4 weapons and tools right here. Then I think in the middle I might have a bow. So I'm going to put minor enchants on this stuff. I think I'm just going to add knockback 2 on the sword, nothing too overpowered, just so that you can get away from other players. It's not really more of a PvP sword, it's kind of like to get other players away from you. And then I recommend getting something like, Fire Aspect 2 is a little overpowered for the starting bow, so maybe something like, oh, that's something that I forgot. Make sure that you put Curse of Vanishing on all of the armor. So make sure that you put Curse of Vanishing in the armor, because the starting armor is going to be the armor that people are going to be going after just as backup armor, and there's going to be a whole lot of it if there's no Curse of Vanishing. It's going to be literally everywhere after a good while. So I definitely recommend putting Curse of Vanishing on at least the armor. The tools maybe not so much, because then if you die with it, then it doesn't really matter that much. So I recommend, let's see here, let's put Punch 2 on the bow. Again, this bow's not really for attacking, it's more for getting away. So I think that's good for the bow and the sword. Now the tools, which I don't really care a whole lot about, like how overpowered those are. So I'm just going to try and find, I can't find one. Efficiency 1, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Efficiency 1, and so to duplicate it, you can place Block of Quartz, item frame, enchanted book, hold your pick block item. I have mine on the left D-pad, and spam B, and it will automatically give you a whole bunch of copies. Great thing about creative is if you pick up something with a full inventory, it deletes it. So then you can throw your items in there with their efficiency 1. I don't recommend giving diamond tools Unbreaking 3 in the starter kit unless you're putting Curse of Vanishing on it, because then people will just purposely kill themselves, get a starter kit, and go on with their day with a bunch of tools and not have to worry about crafting their own. And that's why people will often come up with rules to, like, you can only have a starter kit once per day or once an hour or something like that to keep those kind of things from happening. And then once you're done with your kit, well, actually, I forgot to add in arrows. So make sure that you put in arrows. I like to put in, I don't really care about a clock or compass. If somebody wants that, they can craft it. The main thing that you need to make sure that you give them is food. So I'm just going to give them some steak. So I'm going to give them half a stack worth of arrows, like that, like so, and then break this into 16s. So they get a full stack of steak. There we go. So you have your starter kit. Now what you can do is you can go ahead and pick that up, place it in here, name it something like starter kit, so that you can tell the difference between it and the other kits. If you happen to have a kit the same color, accidentally broke that anvil right there. And then you can go ahead and place that in your ender chest for here. And then to duplicate these are really simple. Just place them and break them. And then you have multiple copies. You make sure that you always keep one copy in an ender chest, and then you can put the other copies in your shop over there to be distributed to the players. I recommend just making it so that, because I like to have gamer tags on usually, even though it makes it a little bit unfair, I like to have people have to hand in an empty map for their starter kit, just so that they can't track other players and find people's bases right away. So other than that, that's the gist of making kits. And I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. If you want a part 3 to this, there's not a whole lot more to actually making this, but if you want more information on actually making more of the faction server, like the zones, my recommendations on care packages and like stuff like that, little Easter eggs hidden in the world, let me know down in the comment section below. But otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out. But wait, there's more. Starting today, I'm going to start adding in some shoutouts at the end or beginning of most of my videos, so be looking out for that. Today's shoutout goes to Hannibal P1G. I've been watching his videos for a little while now. He posts a lot of great content, and yeah, I hope you go and check him out. He's a pretty cool dude, and yeah, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.